So I'd like to invite Dr. Michelle Williams to come up. We're very honored to have Michelle here. Michelle is a renowned epidemiologist, award-winning educator, and widely recognized academic leader. She just recently stepped down as Dean of the Faculty at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health after 7 years. So that included presiding over the school, as I mentioned yesterday, during the a worldwide pandemic. And we're especially grateful that Dean Williams gave so much support for this Thich Nhat Hanh Center for Mindfulness and Public Health to happen. It's just really a historical moment in, I think, Harvard's history as well as this country. I feel it would be that impactful. And she's currently spending a sabbatical year as a visiting professor at Stanford University. And after that, she will return to the Chan School as a Joan and Julius Jacobson Professor of Epidemiology and Public Health. So we'll listen to the sound of the bell, and then Michelle will begin.
Good morning. Let me start with my thanks. My thanks to Brother Paplu and the entire organizing committee for this retreat. This has been a phenomenal, life-changing experience for me, and I won't speak for everyone in the room, but I suspect you appreciate what I mean. I also want to thank all of you for making this such a special retreat, for being gentle and kind and sharing so much of your gifts, your talent with all of us. So I'm going to do my little part, and I will tell you that I'm more nervous speaking to this audience than I would be if I were at the National Academy of Medicine. And the reason is, I care so much more about you. So a little bit about my journey, because I had a chance to spend a week here incognito, just as a normal person with everybody else without titles. And that was a good thing for me. It just felt right. It's a nice way to begin my sabbatical. So how did I get to know about Thai? I was grieving the loss of my mother, and a very good friend and colleague, Lillian Chung, and you know her. What a whirling dervish. And her husband, Lee Chin, who I am going to grab him by the collar and bring him here in May, saw my sorrow and offered me a pathway to managing my grief. And I always turn to books when I am challenged and stressed and feeling fear. And I don't know how Lillian and Lee knew that, but they gave me that book. And for all of you who've read that book, you know why I no longer have fear, because there is no birth and there is no death. There is a continuity. And I'm still a student, so if I get it wrong, please, please correct me. It's the only way for us to learn. But the take home for me was nothing is born, nothing dies. And I love this analogy. The cloud is transformed into rain and water and milk and grass and cows and ice cream. Ooh, powerful. So that's the beginning of my path. And it was just in time for me to learn more about how my ancestors, my people's collective trauma, intersect with someone who is so amazingly brilliant, insightful, and connected with one of my personal heroes, and a hero to all of us. This story is profound, and again, transformative for me, because there is no other. It's all us. And these two men exemplify that. I love these pictures. I'm just showing you, and you can see I downloaded them from the Thich Nhat Hanh Foundation. I just love looking at these pictures. And if you have not read this book, I encourage you. It gave me a lot of joy this week to be walking around the bookstore and seeing so many of you picking up that book. And even more joy when I saw others of you say, "That's a good book." I want to couch my remarks in the shared vision of these two men. And their shared vision was their vision for a beloved community. A community to which we all belong, in which we all live in freedom. And they each had their own way of describing this beloved community. But at the end of the day, it's the same. It is a community that is a space of social equity and belonging, peace and freedom from prejudice. It is the earth, is a living mother, nurturing and protecting all people and all species without discrimination. In my view, this vision and the work of these men paved the way for environmental justice, which is today more important than ever because of the threats to our planet and because we are all interconnected, all species. So, as an epidemiologist, I can't give a talk without having definitions. And so I wanted to share with you one of the definitions of public health that I love because it's accessible. I love because I think it most expansively captures Thay's teachings, and I'll tell you why. I'll show you why. The science and the art of practice, of preventing disease, prolonging life, and promoting health through organized efforts of society. I didn't remember this definition until I was here, until I read this source, the Mindful Bell. I had to come to the Buddha, the scientist retreat to get reconnected to the definition of my life's work. And this is an article that is in this journal that was a handout for all of us. Thank you. And the why it's so special is because the author, Aurea O'Sullivan, writes, this definition highlights that the public health is not just for everyone, it is by everyone. We all have a stake in our own health, our family's health, our community's health, our society's health, our planet's health. Public health is everyone's responsibility. It is co-created. I love that. I just love that. So, my professional experience rests mostly with an organ that we are all happy our mothers developed and allowed us to be born. So I spent 32 years studying human reproduction, and I specifically specialized in looking at this organ. Now, I needed to compete with Solomon's brain. And I'm not talking about his brain. I'm talking about the brain he drew yesterday. What do you think? The placenta. I spent 32 years studying the placenta, the organ that is so important for life formation for humans, and even going micro, studied the mitochondria, the little, remember junior high school biology? That little engine that could. We are all here because we had organelles within cells that allowed our growth and development. So that's where I usually lived before I became an administrator. But I work in a space where we go from cells to society. Where is Dr. Vish? I learned that wonderful expansiveness from you, my friend. And then we even go deeper than cells. We go from organelles within cells to the planet. So that's why the definition of public health is so important to me, because it is expansive. It is connecting all of us through our actions and through our deeds. So let's go macro. Macro. What has our population's responsibility for caretaking this planet we live on? What actions have we taken to put us in this position where we are today? Our footprint has never been as large and as disruptive. Now, our footprint is largely because of the successes of public health. Right? But there is no end and no beginning to public health, because while we're expanding life, we are also putting pressure on the planet. And it's taken us a long time to kind of figure that out. And I heard someone on the very first day say, our resources on this planet are not infinite. So we are caretakers. And we are caretakers for an unprecedentedly large population that has grown rapidly. And as we grow, we emit more carbon in how we work, how we eat, how we recreate. And it's the burning of fossil fuels that is one of the main contributors to the threat of our planet. The threats impact our food production, but how we produce our food is also a threat. A half of livable surface is used for food production. How we build, all of our engineers who've given us wonderful structures to keep us safe, how we build impacts our environment and our future. We put dams on 60% of the world's rivers. We could be more mindful when we build the next ones. We've built vast cities and reshaped coastlines. And in doing so, we have threatened other species. Reverence for life. Population growth and extreme resource consumption are altering, have altered, and are altering our global environment in profound ways, and these are just a few. Extreme temperatures, loss of our tropical forests, and destruction of our coral reefs. How we move, how we aggregate in cities have an impact. We've changed so that we are now talking about an environmental crisis. And we in public health, because our role of inquiry, our role of practice is so expansive, it is a public health crisis. And I want to say that COP28, the 28th meeting of a convening to talk about planetary changes, climate change, it's the first time they're focusing on health. Something wrong. Something is so wrong, but I am grateful that we will spend a day at COP28 talking about the impact of these changes on human health. The points I want to just make here is we have fragile public health gains. We've extended life. We have brought some inequities down. We have many more to do. But if we don't attend to this ongoing crisis of our planet, these disparities will only become larger. And we're already seeing all of us experiencing reductions in life expanse. I'm going to go a little faster. How are we on time? Okay. So, just a few quick points. What are we seeing already? We're seeing a rise in allergies, asthma, vector-borne diseases. We're confronting these threats, require a new approach. It's going to require us to rethink how we do everything as a community, as a society. And it's going to take research, practice, engaging in writing policies that are equitable, and it's going to require individual and collective action. And those actions cannot be done in siloed ways. We can't tell people to consume plant-based foods without thinking about culture or thinking about the ecosystem in which people live. For example, I have a young faculty member, not so young anymore, Chris Golden, who has spent his life since he was a college student to now where he's an associate professor, studying the health and ecosystem of people in Madagascar. Now, the main source of protein for people in Madagascar is fish. But with rising sea levels and with a decay of the landscape and the coral reef, their main source of protein is being attenuated. It is changing the fundamental way of how the people of Madagascar live and survive. And they're not the ones most responsible for the climate change, but they are the most vulnerable because of where they are. So we have to think about this continuous ecosystem. Planetary health. When I started public health in 1986, that would have sounded like we now have an emerging discipline in public health. It's a new domain where humans are beginning to focus, scientists are beginning to focus on how humans contribute to climate change, declining biodiversity, pollution, and how all these changes impact and disrupt human and other species' health. It's a 6-year-old alliance. There are over 140 universities and NGOs and government entities and research institutes participating. It is led by Dr. Sam Myers, who is now at Johns Hopkins. and it's shaping the research and the policy across disciplines. So there are public health people now on teams working on designing urban planning, urban settings, and allowing for better implementation of planning for river ecology. I don't have to say much about this if you just reflect back to how we saw the spread, the dynamic of COVID among our friends living in close quarters, the incarcerated, the elderly, and those living in urban settings with substandard housing and certainly not adequate ventilation. This is not what's going to happen. It's happening. And we will see more pandemics because of the encroachment of animal life and human life and the capacity for pathogens to jump from one species to another. You know, epidemiologists can do a good job at scaring people. We haven't used enough of our energy and efforts in talking about and building and working and scaling solutions. But we are changing. We are getting more involved. We are incentivizing more faculty to engage in problem solving as well as describing problems. And the center, the Thich Nhat Hanh Center for Mindfulness in Public Health, is really the place where we will incubate, bringing research, knowledge creation, and practice more squarely together in an equitable way so that we are incentivizing everybody to contribute to practice the art of our science. I know we must be short on time. 5 minutes. I'm timekeeping the timekeeper. I want to go to hope. There is hope. This retreat gives me hope. In this retreat, I learned about Brother Paplou's creation of wake-up schools. You get the credit as the leader. But all of you. This is brilliant. For so many years, I wanted to bring public health down into K through 12. And I can see the way to do this and do it mindfully with the practice and art of science and mindfulness. So I have hope because in raising awareness and building community and identifying pathways for taking action individually and collectively to protect, promote, and preserve the health of all people, species, and our planet, it's achievable. We don't have to be distressed. We don't have to despair. We have time to really change the way we engage with Mother Earth. We have to keep increasing social awareness. We have to promote the growth of the political will to do something. We can do this. We can build public support. We can encourage those with the financial resources to invest wisely in implementing interventions we now know that work to protect our planet and our people, and to invest in the research because we don't have all the answers. When we say it will be important to switch to a plant-based diet, I hear that, and more of us should do that. But what about the knowledge we now have where we know that the extreme amount of carbon in our environment, carbon dioxide, is impacting the nutrient density of the staple crops we all eat? Wheat, rice, soybean. We have to be mindful that as we make that switch, we have to be sure we are attentive to the fact that the climate has the potential, the extreme heat, the high amount of carbon dioxide, will literally change the composition of our foods. Not enough iron, not enough zinc, not enough selenium will make my little engine of the mitochondria not work optimally, which means my placenta will be compromised, which means that little baby over there will be compromised. When we talk about interconnectedness, I want you all to think about the micro, the subcellular, and the macro. I never expected to talk about this in this way until I came here. And it's because I reflect on the title of this retreat. When I first saw this retreat, I thought there was a typo. When I saw this title, and I kept thinking, they must mean the Buddha and the scientist. I was like, someone just didn't do their copy editing right. And then as I started to listen to what was going on here, and a shout out to Sister D, and to all of the Dharma presenters, and to all of my colleagues, there is no dichotomy here. It is a continuum. There's all a little Buddha in us, and there's all a little scientist in all of us. And what this retreat's done for me, it's made me connect with my inner cyborg. It's given me the license to be a little bit more human, and hopefully I've effectively communicated a little bit of the science that I try to bring to this world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That's flowers for this beautiful presentation. So beautifully bringing the placenta to the health of the earth.